Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 20 of the Resurrected A Winner Is You podcast. As ever, my name is David and I am sitting 79 miles across from Mr. Alex Aldridge. I think my brain must just go to the number 7 a lot because I'm always picking 70 something, I feel like.
Well, last week you did 69 sexual miles, so we've gone 10 miles further away than that this time.
Is that more sexual or less sexual?
Yeah, make of that what you will. It can never be inherently as sexual as 69. It can only be more or less, as you say. I can't figure out how a 7 and a 9 would go together. That's just if somebody's got a really tight neck and they're sort of jutting their head out. Get under the nook of the 7, I think. The little corner. Get in there. Yeah. Either that or they've got their legs just completely outwards. So there's just a rigid, right angle. Right angle cunnilingus. Or fellatio, depending on who's doing the right angle.
Yes, and we'll leave it up to you to decide who, listener. Which one?
We don't discriminate. Yeah, we're totally cool either way.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had a busy week, Alex. We've been playing Left 4 Dead over the last day, really.
I was going to say, people are going to find out the more we do these co-op games together, they're going to find out we basically just play them all the night before.
Yeah, we just absolutely go in a session where we just bash through a whole game in one go, which I quite like. I enjoyed that.
Me too. You were a bit slurred by the end. I could tell that whatever it was that you were knocking back was kicking in.
Yeah,
you were just really tired.
I was a bit of both, really. I did it again when I accidentally got too drunk. I was saying to Annie today, I need to have a word with myself. This needs to be knocked on the head in some fashion, because I think I'll just have a nice drink because I like a glass of wine, like a nice whiskey, and then all of a sudden I'm hammered, and that wasn't the intention at all. I've just ended up very drunk, annoyingly.
Well, two things from that. First of all, did not hamper your ability to play the game in any way whatsoever.
I'm used to it.
I could only audibly tell that you were hammered. I couldn't tell by how you're performing in the game. Still spot on. And then second of all, you had less than 6 hours sleep and seem absolutely fine.
I'm used to it. Yeah, this is why. So I always think it's kind of weird. Maybe people think I'm a little bit weird, but when it gets to about 10 o'clock, because I'm an old man, I'm like, right, everything needs to go off now because I won't sleep. And if I don't sleep, then I'll be up at 7 o'clock regardless of when I go to bed. So
yeah, this
has to be. I have to put myself to sleep at a sensible time. Otherwise, it's just going to be bad for the rest of the day. So yeah, I was up first thing. I think I've got my mother's genes in that I can just shake off the alcohol from the night before and just get going.
I mean, most of the listeners probably just are thinking, well, Scottish, right? So
yeah, explains itself. Hardened drinker. Yeah,
you're not a fucking southern softie like me, mate. You had
if
a Kahlua and a couple of rums. I didn't feel drunk or anything. I was just really tired.
If there's going to be a real zombie apocalypse, though, that is fully how I intend to just go out, get a gun, shoot zombies, and be constantly drunk until either the zombies or alcoholism takes me.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever thought of what a drunk zombie would be like. It'd be quite difficult to tell the difference from a regular to a drunk zombie. They're all much of a muchness. Unless the drunk zombie just wouldn't attack you anymore, you'd just be perfectly Well, actually, we've said this, didn't we? We said it last night, or you pointed it out. In Left 4 Dead, there's quite a lot of zombies who are kind of just leaning against the wall, throwing up on themselves. They must be the drunk ones. They're all the Scottish zombies.
Yeah, whoever made Left 4 Dead actually just walked down Union Street in Aberdeen on a Saturday night and thought, this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
They look like zombies. They'll do.
Yeah. Oh man!
So I guess absolutely, it's aged very, very well. I think Left 4 Dead. It's still a great game. Unfortunately, though, fortunately, because I'm looking forward to getting through it. Left 4 Dead 2 looks so much better, doesn't it?
Everything about it, I think, is better from what we only played the first mission, but it's aged fine until you play the sequel. At which point you realise how much better. Because our main complaint has been previously, and probably still was, is that it does not feel tangibly meaty enough when you played the first Left 4 Dead, especially with the gunplay. Whereas I don't think that's a problem at all in 2. Not when you've got a chainsaw and an axe and shit.
No, I think that's something. Yeah, I had these in my notes to talk about it at some point. But the difference between Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 is, for me, other than the visuals, is that the movement of the character and the sort of meatiness of the guns are much improved.
Yeah, it's a faster game as well.
I would accuse that of maybe all Valve games. I think, I don't know if this is a controversial statement or not, but I think the Half-Life games also suffer from the same sort of walking on ice, really lightweight guns with no weight to them. Was Left 4 Dead 2 the most recent proper game they put out, or would that be Portal 2?
Well, that's what Google is for. I'll quickly do that. If you've got something else to introduce, I will do that.
Well, yeah, I kind of just had the start of the podcast just generally talking about what we thought of the game. So I guess, like, rather than speaking about Left 4 Dead 2, the game we're here to cover today is Left 4 Dead. So I guess Portal it's time 2. To chat about Portal 2.
Which we should remember because we did an anniversary of Portal 2 because it's 2011 earlier on this year.
Yeah. Did you? So what was your kind of general takeaways for Left 4 Dead? Do you think it's still a quality game? Do you think it's aged badly? Is it showing its age? What do you think?
I think it's probably helped by the fact we played these on PC. If I was to plug in my 360 and play Left 4 Dead, then we'd be talking in a very different way about whether it's aged badly or not. But because we were playing it on a PC, they're both pretty decent at this point in our PCs, especially yours. It didn't feel like it had aged that badly. Maybe you can look at the AI director and think it's perhaps slightly more simplistic than that name implies. You know, it sounds as if it's going to be this crazy, clever, like sentient fucking Skynet sending zombies after you when you're too busy fiddling with your dick or picking your nose. But realistically, that seems to be all that it does. It's just whenever you've been in somewhere for too long, it then just fires a bunch of zombies at you. Or if you go away, you separate yourself from the pack, it fires a bunch of zombies. I mean, what else can you do in a zombie apocalypse? There's going to be zombies flying at you, I guess. So that shouldn't be unexpected. I think that still works. I mean, it still works well. It still makes you play the game in a sort of a tense, on-edge way, which is definitely what they want to happen. And I think even on normal, after a while, we weren't so cocky anymore, and we were getting a bit of a hammering on certain levels. I don't think did we fail any on the first game? Was it right? Well, we failed that DLC that was absolute bullshit. Yeah. We didn't fail any of the normal game, did we?
No, I think we got right through it. I was trying to do a little bit of research on the AI director, but I find it's quite a woolly. Whenever anyone's spoken about it, they speak about it like they know how it works, but it just comes across as quite woolly. So, like, apparently the AI director is monitoring where you are on the map, where you're moving, how quickly you're moving through the map. Apparently it's keeping an eye on your health. It's keeping an eye on, like, your accuracy and stuff. And I guess, like, the end goal is, I suppose they do want you to get through the level, but they want you to get through the level and feel like you've just got through the level by the skin of your teeth and no more.
I think we had quite a few games where we felt like that. You certainly were actually saying so when we got to certain save points. You know, I can't believe we've got this far. I can't believe we did this.
Yeah, so you feel like
works.
I guess like that's what you want. Yeah, it's what you want from a zombie apocalypse game. You want to feel like you're just surviving and no more, which is So I guess so. Yeah, and in a way it works to that extent. I just don't think it's as, I don't know. Maybe there is something going on under the hood that I don't understand, but it just seems like it's going to throw, if you've been quiet for a while or you're not moving through the map quick enough, it'll throw zombies at you to make you speed up. And maybe that seems to be as much far as it goes.
Yeah, and maybe, we're not paying enough credence to the fact that it is quiet every once in a while, and maybe that's part of it as well. If you've just come through a big stretch of big groups of zombies one after another, you do eventually sometimes get those, just a couple of stragglers lingering about on street corners or in little cupboards or alleyways. Yeah. So maybe that's a part of it as well, to kind of get you pushed onto another choke point or a set piece, and then hit you once you get there, or pick up any people that are straggling behind. Maybe we're giving it too much credit. I don't know, but it certainly feels like you have to be cognizant of the fact that you're in a team and that you cannot play this game solo at like a maverick. You will just get smashed up.
Yeah. And I guess, like, for the most... Sorry, carry on.
No, I don't know what I'd say other than that. I think I was just going nowhere.
Yeah, what this game... I guess what it does, the key item, is that because it's meant to be monitoring what you're doing, each time you play through the game, it is slightly different, i.e. witches will be in different places, hunters will come at different times, tanks will come at different times, and it just makes it, for what is, for all intents and purposes, a very short game, it just makes it really replayable in a way. I think I was thinking about, like,
I would say so,
showing it. I was thinking about how this game shows its age, because it is an old game at this point, and I think, like, all that set aside, like, graphics, obviously, like, things move on and things like that, but I think for me the key bit is I just don't think a game like this would be released in this form in 2021, i.e. like we've got Back 4 Blood coming up later this year, and that is surely going to have some sort of progression and XP and something to grind on and something to work towards. This game is like your character is as powerful at the beginning of the game as they are at the end, and nothing ever changes. It is just the same game over and over again. You don't level up, you don't unlock skins, you don't unlock weapons, you just are. And I can't see a game like that coming out in 2021 just because of how the market is and how companies try to make money. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I didn't really think about that, but to say that it's only sort of aged in terms of its business model, I guess, or its the way that it presents its content to the player, or the amount of content that it has, I would say yes, is the way in which it feels that it has aged. Other than, because when you're talking about gameplay, I mean, it has that Valve feel to it, but that's also such a classic and refined feel that it doesn't really feel ancient in any way. It's still pretty exhilarating. I think the animations, the ragdoll physics and stuff on the zombies themselves, when you're shooting them and their legs are flying off, or they're getting headshotted, or they're flying into walls, or rolling downstairs, like all of that stuff is really cool, and it still feels really modern. But have you actually watched anything of the Back 4 Blood beta testing? Because I wanted to do that before we started, and just to see how it looks. Maybe
I know it's not great.
I don't know if you want to go on.
Perhaps, I'm up for giving it a go. My point of view from it is that I know it's not very good for this podcast, but like I know I'm going to buy this game, so I've just been ignoring it largely. Same with it was like when we were talking about Halo last night. I'm going to get it, or I'm going to play it. We've got Game Pass, of course I'm going to get it, but I'm going to play it, so I don't need to know any more about it. But yeah, I would be keen to give it a go and see how it feels. Just because, mainly because we've been playing the Left 4 Dead games recently, and I just want to see how they've changed, because it is the same developer, or one of the same developers. It's a lot of the people that went in Turtle Rock, isn't it?
Yeah, so, that's right.
It's going to be that modern Left 4 Dead game that we were talking about just not 2 minutes ago, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm having a quick look at it now. Aim down sights appears to be more of a thing, which again is kind of more of a modern thing than old Valve games. They always seem to not have aim down sights for some reason.
No, and they've got a sniper rifle in the first Left 4 Dead, and neither of us can figure out why anyone would pick that gun.
Okay, so there seems to be some sort of card-based system. Let's see. It's essentially everything players love about Left 4 Dead, but better. Arcade gunplay is nothing short of phenomenal, thanks to how snappy and responsive it is. And there's a large amount of different weapons available to choose from and come across as you traverse each level. And there are plenty of attachments you can find out in the wild for your guns as well. The way the levels are designed is great. Carefully designed checkpoints force players to cooperate, clear each area strategically. To me, what else we got? It's considerably more difficult than Left 4 Dead overall. For each campaign, players have an opportunity to create a deck of different cards that alter their stats and abilities in combat. For example, some cards can give you extra stamina so you can sprint for longer periods of time before getting tired, while others improve how quickly or how much you can heal you and your allies. Some cards will also give you more ammo capacity, faster reload speeds, or the ability to heal on kill when your health is low. There are a ton of different cards to choose from, and you're encouraged to make a deck that best suits your playstyle. Once you load into a level, you're then given the opportunity to pick a randomly selected card from your deck to activate. As you progress through the campaigns and make your way to new levels, you'll be given more and more cards to activate so that you become stronger and stronger over time. There's a catch. The ridden zombie hordes can use cards of their own, and these can drastically shift the gameplay flow of a level. Sometimes the ridden will use a card that makes their body more durable, forcing you to focus on landing critical hits. Other times a card will blanket an entire level in fog, making it harder to see incoming zombies. These cards add another nuanced level of dynamic gameplay to the experience.
Seems like they're just building on the AI director thing then.
Making you have more agency over it by the look of it, right?
Yeah.
So, I guess, as you rightly sort of predicted there, it looks as if Back 4 Blood is going to make itself more... Well, it seems to be somewhat of a twist on what we're kind of used to at the moment. It's not exactly ripping anything off. It's got a card system that allows you to spec your character, and then other card systems will be in play that will change the way that the level acts and reacts to you and the way that the zombies react to you. And it sounds like you can increase, I guess, your strength over time. Maybe that makes the game harder over time. So it feels like there probably is a lot more replayability to this, which, as you said, would not have worked if they kept it as it was for the first two games, where it's just effectively like a roguelike without any progression. In fact, it's probably just rogue, except that the maps stay the same and the objectives are the same. Yeah. So, yeah, I am definitely interested. Well, yeah, we're definitely both going to get it, and we're going to play it, and we're going to pod about it. That's why we're doing this right now. But we shouldn't discount these games off the basis of the way that they're going to, be modernised for what we want them to be today. No. Because they're still a hell of a lot of fun, and we had a great time last night.
Yeah, and I'm like I was saying before we started recording this podcast, I'm hoping that I really want us to finish Left 4 Dead 2 at least. Just carry on playing.
I'm more than happy to, because I feel like we've played so much of the worst of the two games, and now I've really got an itch to play the second one.
And now I've realised that Left 4 Dead 1 appears to be in the first game. No, sorry, Left 4 Dead 2. I want to see how it looks, because it'll have the nice graphics as well. Yes,
it did look really sexy. Honestly, the facial models, they looked so good. They look like current gen facial textures that I was looking at. I was really impressed by that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it was really, really good. I've got this random fact for you, but I was trying to think of a place to drop it in, but I think I'm just going to tell you it and just
you drop it when you want.
Out of nowhere. Well, actually, so I'll lead this with a question. What do you think about, so like when you die in Left 4 Dead, obviously you come back and you're found in a cupboard. What do you think about that? Do you like how they do that? Is that a good way to manage death? So I guess like once you die, your game's not necessarily over.
I wonder if they'll have in the new game like card perks or stuff that allow you to bring somebody back quicker, or like a mobile respawn. Maybe I'm just thinking about Apex Legends too much still at this point.
Well, can't blame you for thinking about Apex.
But that's immediately where I went to compare it in my head when you said, what do I think about how you bring it back? Because I think about Apex Legends and how you have to go grab a banner and then you have to find the respawn beacon and then bring them back. Whereas in this one, it just seems to be set to, if you get to the place where they're going to come back, and then they'll be there. It doesn't seem to be random there. We only played the game through once, and it's been years since I played it before that. So it feels as if like once you get to X segment of the map, that's the cupboard that they're going to be in if they're going to come back.
I think you can. I wonder if there's. I'd be interested. To me, it feels like there's a timer on it, because I think as you're going through the game, you can find these cupboards. There's quite often you'll see just an empty room, and I think that's what they are. It's just those sort of closets.
Oh, right, fair enough.
Yeah. The developers actually did build a sort of lore / thought process in behind how these closets work.
Okay.
So there's commentary in the game, and the logic behind they call it a rescue closet, is that the dead, in quotations, survivor didn't actually die, but you're instead so badly hurt that you crawled into a closet, barricaded yourself in, and recovered somewhat, but then noticed you couldn't get out, which is why you can't get out of the closet once you've recovered a bit. So in-game logic, you're just a recovered, injured person, basically.
Who has amazing crawling abilities, as you can crawl further down the street quicker than 3 agile people can run there.
Yeah.
Maybe they're distracted by the zombies, I guess.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
been too busy shooting, and while this dude's just crawling all the way there.
Which,
I'll buy it.
like
What else are they going to say?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this is a good opportunity for us though to move on and start talking about the infected and the different types you get.
Yes, please.
Another little tidbit before we start talking about the ones that are actually in the game. In Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 and all the DLCs, there's some sound. There's sorry, I'm tripping over my words here, but basically there's unused assets in the code for different sound types, and there's noises that are similar to a dog. None of the noises are actually used in the game, but they still exist in the game files. They're called zombie dog and attack. There's attack sounds for zombie dog. That's what they're written in the code. They were eventually recycled for the hunter when he'd attack with his claws. This could explain why the hunter yelps like a dog when he is killed. According to some of the church guy's combat color sound files in the game, the dog seems to have been remade for when it would turn into a hunter. So basically it looked like they were trying to put dogs in the game but didn't use them and ended up reusing these assets for the hunter, which is why they've got dog names, which I really, really butchered, but we got them eventually. For
a number of reasons, I'm happy about that. I don't like zombie dogs. They are a pain in the arse, and I don't like hurting dogs in games.
Exactly. Apparently there's a lot of concept art doing the rounds on the internet as well. These are of infected that got cut from the final game. So some of these examples, I want you to, after I tell you the example of the infected, you can tell me if you think it's good that they cut it or if you'd have liked to have seen it more.
Okay.
There's an infected with a large colony of rats that burst out of his stomach, likely to be found in the sewer areas of the game. What do you think of that one?
Did any of these get replaced by the ones that are actually in it? Because, that kind of sounds like a bit of a more brutal boomer thing.
I wonder if that's... So we'll get to that as well. Because
that would suck if you have to look at the floor for zombie rats. The
boomer actually went through a couple of incarnations, but I wonder if some of these were removed because either they ran out of development time or they were too similar. Because like you say, that it does sound a bit like a boomer. But we'll come back to this. But the initial incarnation of the boomers, they didn't explode. Or sorry, they did explode. They didn't vomit.
Okay.
Which I guess is maybe then this is a bit of that sort of rolled into one infected. Another one is there's a slow but strong giant called Meatwall, which resembles a cross between a boomer and a tank. I don't see there's any need.
No one wants a bullet sponge. Nobody wants a bullet sponge in these types of games. Tank is enough of one.
There's an infected named Claws, which was possibly intended to be a male version of the witch.
Yeah.
I think part of what makes that witch, when we get on to it, I guess, utterly terrifying though, is that cry. So if it's a male crying, it's not quite as scary, I don't think.
Yeah. No, it
it
really seems like a lot of the cut stuff was just the same as the stuff that was left in. Just slightly worse.
Exactly. And I think there's also ones that seem to have been cut if they were like level specific. So that infected that would have the rats come out sounds like it would be part of the sewer. And then this final one I've got here it's an infected pig named Hellhog, which seems to have been wanted to be used in Blood Harvest. So maybe that's why that one got cut as well. They opted they opted just for having infected that could be used across all aspects of the game. Well, we start with the general infected. I guess there's not much to say about them, really, is there? They just sort of run at you. They're quite annoying when they bog you down in big numbers. Yeah,
I mean, that one's weird. I guess it seems as if they are holding you back because you just can't move forward if they're behind you. It's not animated that way.
Yeah.
I guess that would be quite difficult for them to sort of like have, I don't know, shirt textures that they're like grabbing hold of. I guess that's what it's supposed to imply, that they're holding onto your limbs or your shirt or whatever. That's why you can't run away when they're behind you. But you turn around and they're basically just standing there punching the shit out of you. And you think, well, if I was getting punched in the back, I'd just run forwards. But I can't for some reason.
Yeah.
But other than what we said about the drunk ones and the puking ones and stuff, they're great. They are so fun to watch in motion. They're running is so just mental and all over the place. They don't always run directly at you. Sometimes they'll sort of run around in a circle and have to like come back towards you. I love the little stragglers just sort of chilling out in an office room or a toilet or whatever. But they although they don't do very much damage, they're not on their own or even in a big group. You're going to outlast them for quite a while. It's the special infected that are the issue. In terms of their athleticism, I haven't really played a lot of Dying Light, but I feel like these must be amongst or like right up there with the most agile zombies in any game ever.
Probably
they are really quick.
They're from the ilk of, what is it? Days Gone? No, that's a video game. What's the
actually, Days Gone. They do run in there, I think, as far as I can remember.
Dawn of the Dead? They're fast. No, it's a British horror zombie movie.
Oh, what? 28 Days Later.
That's it. Yeah, they're the 28 Days Later ilk.
Yeah, they do some running in that, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah. I think the General Infected is probably one of the few times that I do get frustrated in the game. Like when you get absolutely bogged down with them, especially in the first one, in the sort of introduction of melee weapons. If you get really, really caught up in a lot of them and you don't have much ammo, it can be frustrating to try and move.
Getting caught in a reload animation, but trying to punch them away from you at the same time, therefore never actually reloading your gun, is so annoying.
Annoying.
Yeah, and that's typically what zombies are, isn't it? In terms of how annoying that they normally would be in a game where they're like sort of shambling and slow moving and slow witted.
Yeah.
If you get overrun by too many of them, then you're bogged down and screwed. But in this one, they also run and do that, so they are pretty brutal. They just take a lot. You take a lot of damage before you're going to get in any real trouble.
I think perhaps the scariest enemy in the entire game is the witch. That crying is really, really unsettling. And especially
as we found out, she moves in the second one. She walks about.
She can move, yeah. It's terrifying. But it's when you're like going around and you hear the cry and you know it's like, oh no, where is she? Is she going to be in a place that we can get round her, or are we going to have to deal with her, or are we going to accidentally set her off, which is the worst thing that can happen when you just set her off by accident.
I feel like I went into this probably kind of expecting the witches to be set up or laid out in a level in a specific way, in a specific area, but there were plenty of times where we would just walk around a corner and there she was, and we didn't realise, and we've put a light on her or whatever, and we're buggered. Sometimes they are in a more open area where we could like actually plan it and get like a gas canister and a Molotov and get ready and just lob them all at once and then just pepper her with bullets. But the one hit kills is makes her easily the scariest in the game. She will wreck you immediately if you piss her off. And in the second one, where she's moving around, you can't even really plan stuff for her.
No,
then we didn't really experience it too much, but she's going to suck.
Yeah, when you're in a tight area as well, because like there was one when we were playing Left 4 Dead 2. I know this isn't a Left 4 Dead 2 podcast, but when we were playing that first level, and we basically just seen her coming and just stood in the doorway and let her walk by us. Like there's
that
occasions,
was cool.
Yeah, I mean, but there's occasions like imagine running into in a narrow corridor where we don't have the option to do that.
Yeah.
The witch
Someone's
is
going
terrifying.
down. Yeah.
The other probably. I guess they've all got their own terrifying moments, but I found the boomer quite terrifying, but he puts you on edge because quite often you would get caught out by knowing he's around and not knowing where he is, and then all of a sudden he's around a corner that you walk around on your own, you get spat on, and it's just all hell breaks loose for about 30 seconds while you try and deal with the boomer.
Yeah, and I would say he has an extra level to him where you still have some agency over yourself, but you're still utterly fucked. And that's why the boomer is such a good enemy. Whereas if you think of when you're pinned by the hunter or you're constricted by the smoker, it's a set animation and you kind of know, then, like, right, well, someone's going to have to get him off me now because I'm done. Whereas with the boomer, you still have to carry on playing the game with this face full of goop that you can't see, knowing you're also zombie, like, catnip, and you're absolutely going to get
also
swamped.
Shooting your friends as well.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I completely agree, actually, that after the witch, the boomer is, if you get close up to if you hear a boomer and then you walk around a corner and you get puked on, that is the worst. You're just screwed.
Absolutely. Do you know? So
Because I feel like Zoe got rid of the hunter quite a lot, so we were all right with it.
Yeah, she was amazing at getting rid of the hunter. The boomer did go through, like I say, an incarnation or two. So originally the boomer's bile was red, and he was meant to have no puking capabilities. Instead, he was to explode onto survivors, dealing significant damage. This was later changed to incorporate the Screamers, a cut special infected type. Horde attracting abilities, which was the Screamer, which I think maybe mentioned the Screamer. Yeah, we mentioned the Screamer later on again. In fact, I could just do it now. So during development, there was another special infected called the Screamer. When you attacked or agitated the Screamer, it would run to a safe location and yell out a loud scream, calling out a horde of zombies. While it was cut, many things were retained from it. The idea of attracting hordes was given to the boomer in the form of his bile. The concept of having to avoid an enemy completely or suffer the consequences was given to the witch. And his scream was given to the hunter, and his maniacal cackle was given to the jockey in Left 4 Dead 2.
Well, there you go. Wow.
Yeah, so we're actually going through this, talking about how the boomers changed, and then the cut different infected types. A lot of the initial or different ideas do seem to have made it into the final game, even if there was things cut from it. They've just sort of repurposed the other infected to fit, which I like. I think.
Yeah, or cut them because they were too similar to what they already had, so we've not lost really anything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Probably the next one that jumps to mind in terms of if the boomer's a bit of a cat amongst the pigeons, the tank is certainly another example of that. He just as soon as he comes, just all hell breaks loose, and you just all tactics go out the window, and it's just get out of the way and shoot the tank, and then try and regroup and hope we're all still close enough together, so that if something happens, like a smoker comes along, that you're still close enough to help each other out.
Yeah, and he obviously comes with his own theme tune that announces his arrival. Interesting as well that they don't show you who actually kills the tank when he's dead. Just at the end it just says who did the most damage to the tank, but whereas everything else it would say David has killed the smoker, it doesn't actually tell you when the tank's dead. He just kind of flops down. Yeah,
that's a good point. I guess that makes sense, doesn't it? You want doing damage is where what's important here with the tank, not who shot the last bullet.
Well, maybe it's too difficult. No, it shouldn't be too difficult because it's going to be machine learning, isn't it? But we're all just pumping into him. It probably doesn't really matter, as you say. It's just getting him down.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you could actually outrun one for long enough. I wonder if you could just completely outrun it, or is it like an immovable set piece that you have to deal with? It's unskippable. You cannot avoid fighting the tank.
Yeah, that would be interesting, actually.
Just to see if you could just get him to chase you for the whole level.
Yeah. I mean, you can't outrun him. The only time I've ever tried to run away from him is sort of going backwards while I'm shooting him. And you can't outrun him going backwards. I don't know if you can more quickly going forwards. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah.
Probably the one we've got two more types infected from Left 4 Dead 1 that we haven't spoken about. So the smoker. What do you think of the smoker? I don't really have much to say about the smoker.
I tell you what, the smoker is one of the most fun ones to be in the multiplayer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I used to love when you could try and get yourself as high as possible and then try and drag someone to a point where they are never coming down without dying on the way there, or you're just not going to even be able to see where you've dragged them to because you're so high up.
Yeah.
But in terms of an enemy to deal with, I think being constricted is one of the most annoying things because that fully sort of means that you have to stop your forward progress, don't you? You have to completely turn around and go back and try and find where they're being restricted to. The smoker usually, or sometimes will be hidden behind a wall or a ledge or something so that it can avoid you just shooting it by turning around and then dealing with it and moving on. You actually have to follow and try and get a shot at it. So, yeah, the smoker is annoying. I guess that means it's a good enemy design, but it is probably the most annoying, I think.
Mm-hmm. And then the last one we've got is the hunter, which, little factoid time, is it's got an unused animation in the code for the hunter that shows the hunter hanging upside down. Could you imagine? It's already hard enough to catch, let alone if they were able to creep around on the roof as well in a dark room. That would be terrifying. Maybe they just cut that out because they decided it was. I think he's quite a difficult enemy anyway.
Can't really hit him very well. No, that's why we didn't really ever get any kills on him, and it was the AI that was doing it. So yeah,
yeah,
he's a pain.
I don't think I don't think there's any bad, like not well designed infected type in this game.
Well, no, I would say absolutely no. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think they're all pretty well rounded and fleshed out in a certain kind of way.
Rotten fleshed out, yes.
Talking about, I guess, fleshed out is I also had a look into the different characters and had a look at their backstories, and they are fleshed out in a way, but very, very thinly. And I had to go looking for this. Like, the game doesn't really describe itself very well in the character front. Do you think the game's better or worse for it, or do you think it just doesn't matter because it's not that type of game in terms of how it tells its story?
I am tempted to lean towards the latter of those three, that it doesn't really matter. They probably looked at it, I would have thought, in a way that Titanfall didn't, effectively, where like people aren't going to pay attention to this.
No.
As long as we give them enough sort of personality in terms of quips or voice lines or whatever, maybe people will then be able to gravitate towards their favourites based off of that little amount that we give them, rather than trying to flesh them out within the game. Because as you say, it's irrelevant, because I don't really think I would want to stop and listen to. Certainly wouldn't want like an audiobook style thing like in BioShock to happen while we're playing, because we're just not going to pay attention. It's too hectic of a game to sit and pay attention to story. I'd maybe watch more of an intro cutscene or an outro cutscene. I would maybe even watch a halfway cutscene if they're going to set up a set piece with it. But other than that, I don't really have an issue with how that they deal with it. It doesn't matter enough to me.
No, I think you agree. I do have a little bit that I've got that I think I'll read out and tell you, and you can. I don't know. You can just offer your thoughts on it when we get to the end. So, Bill is an ex-US Special Forces soldier. He was involved in Vietnam. He served 2 tours of duty. During the war, he suffered a knee injury as a result of shrapnel boring into his knee, causing permanent damage. 2 days after the first infection, Bill was at a veterans hospital waiting for an operation possibly relating to his injured knee when a resident staff attempts to make small talk in regards to Bill's missing family. Along with his smoking habit, Bill tells him to go practice somewhere else. As he undergoes anesthesia and slowly blacks out for the surgery, one of the nurses becomes infected and kills the operation room staff. Bill somehow staves off his oncoming unconsciousness through sheer will of as he simultaneously fights off the infected nurse, disabling her momentarily, finding a bone saw and a knife to defend himself with. Bill fights the sudden rise of infected outside the hospital to make it back home, where he equips his old military clothing, which has been put away for safekeeping. What do you think of that? It's kind of...
He's more mobile than I would expect, considering he was in there for knee surgery.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was
very
getting
slow.
No. Bill, of the 8 characters in Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, Bill is the only one that dies in the games as well.
What?
Interestingly. So Bill,
How?
so the first DLC for Left 4 Dead 2 is called The Passing, in which you encounter the first 4 heroes from the first game, and Bill dies, saving them all at the end, apparently. So
Oh,
we'll need to
wow.
have a look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Bill is the best character in the first game. Easy.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. He's my favourite as well.
Yeah, you took him every time, but
I did.
so
yes.
I never got to play as him. But
you went Francis once, did you?
yeah, dickhead.
No.
I forgot he looks cool, but he's a douchebag, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, you're
So
way
then
to find
I
out
went
why.
Louis after that, because Louis was as much of a wiener as I am, so that's fine. But yeah, Bill. I mean, you made Bill look good. Like I said to you multiple times when you were, because I think full disclosure is needed here. In almost every game until David was too hammered to really function by the very, very last one, he was far ahead of me in zombie kills. Like every single game, you were smashing it. I was getting nowhere near your kill numbers. And the amount of times, like I said, where I could just see you with Bill just running down the street sideways, just blamming away with your shotgun. He made him look, and he's got a cigarette in his mouth. You made him look really cool.
So that's another thing I read, but I didn't include it in my notes, is that even Bill always has a cigarette in his mouth. And even when he dies, he's got a cigarette in his mouth in the game. But for some reason, when Valve were doing it, when Bill actually dies in the Passing DLC, his cigarette goes out. And that's the only time his cigarette's never lit.
That's quite sweet. It's quite poignant.
Yeah. I guess so.
Yeah.
The next one we've got is Francis. So at one point, Francis was employed by a shipping company called Hirsch, and he was fired because he assaulted someone. Unsurprising. Francis attempted to steal a flat-screen television 2 days after the first infection. When he is caught, his claim that he is a cop gathering evidence for a crime is not taken seriously. He is next shown in a bar boasting to his friends about why he's going to jail, when one of his friends reveals to him that Pennsylvania jails do not allow conjugal visits. Francis' presumed girlfriend Sandra then says better not waste any more time and grabs Francis' arm and pulls him to the back room. Francis and Sandra begin kissing in the back room when she's sick on his vest. He almost leaves, but she convinces him to stay and then promptly bites him. She is about to attack him when Francis' paranoid friend Duke shoots her. Oh my goodness. Realising that this is no ordinary flu and that most people cannot be considered human anymore, Francis realises the possibilities of the lawlessness of the outbreak has brought him, and has Duke and Danny lug a jukebox to the roof, where he grabs a shotgun to begin picking off infected one by one, with Duke, Danny and a few other barmates. It's unknown what happened to his friends, but it's most probable that he either left them or they weren't immune or carriers and succumbed to the flu at one point of time before Francis had joined the group. In the sacrifice, Francis admits to Zoe that he finds his old friends more fun to be with during the apocalypse, but would not have lasted 2 weeks if he hadn't met the group. So yeah, you're right.
What a change of heart.
He's an asshole.
Yeah, he's a big asshole. That reminded me, though, the thing about the flu reminded me of when we were seeing those signs in the airport level where it's telling you to wear your masks and stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's weirdly topical.
So to sort of make that clear, when you're in, is it dead air that level?
Yeah,
you're walking through the airport and there's lots of signs on the wall telling people to wear masks and things like that, which is quite
little
apt
face
for
masks.
2021. Yeah. The next guy we've got.
They're all our
Louis.
buddies.
Yeah, except Francis. Before the infection, Louis was working as a junior systems analyst at Franklin Brothers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. During his lunch breaks, he would often visit the shooting range, which his co-workers would mock him for doing so. It can also be assumed that he has also played video games, as he has a figurine of the Heavy from Team Fortress 2 on his desk, and mentions Counter-Strike when picking up a gun, and makes various references to apparently it makes various references to Half-Life, as well as grieving over the lack of an Xbox on the island on the Keys. Don't know what that means. 2 days.
Is that where they get to the end of the game? Is it maybe?
Oh, could
and there's
be,
no Xbox there. Here you went to a shooting range. That's so conveniently brilliant.
I know. 2 days after the infection began, he encountered his first infected in the men's restroom after trying to convince a co-worker that the press was overreacting and everything was still safe. After killing the infected, he exited the restroom only to find his office in shambles, his co-workers all dead, and the outside world falling to pieces. Louis is the most well-educated of all the survivors, holding at least one undergraduate degree and an MBA, and at some point learning Japanese during an internship in Tokyo, Japan.
Sounds even more like me.
He's basically Alex.
Yeah. Except I don't go to shooting ranges, although I have been to one in Japan.
Maybe you should start, just in case.
Yeah, I probably should. People aren't wearing masks anymore, so...
No, exactly. Better get the guns ready.
Yeah. Don't do that, Americans. Sorry.
No.
It's been almost an hour before we insulted you, but yeah, don't take that literally, please.
No. Last up, we've
and
got
people
Zoe.
have done Blaine. Yeah.
Yes. Zoe was once a student at Aldrich in Philadelphia under a scholarship to become a filmmaker, but instead of attending classes, she spent her time watching horror films and justified this to her upset mother as doing some research. She got her love for this film genre. Yeah? She got her love for this film genre from her father, who introduced her to the movies featuring zombies, slasher murderers, and extraterrestrials at a young age. Her father, Wade, wished for her to become a police officer like himself, often taking her to shooting ranges. Her and Louis have got something in common, to get her into some practice. These actions caused tension between her divorced parents one night and started a heated argument between the two regarding their daughter's future. The argument was short-lived, however, when an infected suddenly found its way into their living room and attacked Zoe's mother, Caroline. Her father was able to kill the infected, but not before it savaged Zoe's mother. Holding Caroline in his arms, Wade commanded Zoe to call for an ambulance. Zoe came back to witness her father being mauled by her mother, who then noticed her daughter's presence and quickly lunged at her. Fortunately, before she could reach Zoe, Wade shot her in the back of the head. Oh my goodness. His last request was for Zoe to kill him before he became an infected. Then she reached for her father's gun, and after a heartbreaking "I love you, Dad," she pulled the trigger.
Jesus.
Okay. Weeks later, Zoe was shocked to discover that her father may have been a carrier and the mercy killing could have been in vain. Okay. Oh. So that's it. So he may be back running about.
That is some severely tragic backstory going on there.
Yeah. So I think after having gone through those, I kind of agree with you. Like, I don't know,
they're
kind of schlocky. On the Left 4 Dead wiki.
Okay.
It's got pages and pages about lore, and I sent you a link to a comic book in case you wanted to read it. So they have attempted to flesh the world out a little bit.
So how was that? How was all of this lore delivered to that, or in general? How did they? Is there a comic of all of this? Is there animation?
So there's comics. So I assume this lore is all delivered via the comics.
Okay.
Which makes sense because a lot of that's quite comic booky-ish sort of lore and storytelling, isn't it? It feels especially is it Francis? He feels super comic booky.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me that I'm a big fan of the movie posters they have for each level.
Oh, I love them. I love that they released them to buy as well.
I wish we had them. They'd be so. I would love them.
Yeah, I wonder if they still do them. I bet they don't.
I bet you'd be able to pick them up somewhere. Stupidly expensive
somebody on Etsy
price.
will have redone it or something.
Yeah. So I guess with that out of the way, then the next thing we can do is to move on to the levels themselves. So I guess rather than go through each level in detail, what I'm planning to do here is I'll read out a brief synopsis of the level, and then we can go through the salient parts and bits and pieces that jump out in our mind as we go. I guess is what I mean by that.
Yeah.
So the first one, and what I've got here is I'm going to go into it and mention them. There are DLC levels littered through it, and I'm pretty sure we ended up doing at least one of them. But for the purposes of this, let's just stick to the base game, because I wonder if that's what listeners will have stuck to rather than going through all the DLC as well. So we've got No Mercy, which is the first campaign in Left 4 Dead. It spans 5 levels. The first level picks up where the game's introduction cutscene leaves off. The survivors hear from a passing rescue helicopter. They can be evacuated if they make their way to Mercy Hospital. On their trek to safety... Bill should have just stayed there. I bet you that's where he came from.
He's come from there.
Yeah. On their trek to safety, they encounter infected-filled apartment buildings, city streets, subway tunnels, and sewers. They discover that Mercy Hospital has been overrun, but that there's still a chance of rescue if they can fight their way to the helicopter landing pad on the roof of the hospital. I'm a big fan of this level, and I think this is one of the better levels in the game. I don't know if it's my favourite, but it's certainly up there. I really like that final bit with the hospital when you're pushing through.
Yeah, I like that too. It's one of the ones that you kind of think of when you think of Left 4 Dead. The layout of the streets, the first time you encountered the tank or whatever in the... usually it's going to be outside the entrance to the hospital, I think.
That's right.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a good start. It's a good starting level. Not too complicated, not too full of distractions or whatever. It's pretty linear. There's some sort of side doors and side routes you have to go into, but yeah, it's decent.
It's probably one of the more simple ones as well that I think does a good job of sort of drip feeding you into the game, I guess, because it starts off with you creeping through some apartments, which is the area is small enough that you don't get overwhelmed by zombies, and then you come out into back streets and long alleyways that sort of they sort of bleed you in, I guess, and they don't really allow zombies to come from multiple directions until right before that safe house at the end. Mm-hmm. I guess that's probably designed deliberately because it allows the player to get used to how the game feels and controls without having to worry about the mounting difficulty of zombies being able to come from any direction.
Yeah, because they will.
The other bit I like is the hospital as well. I think it's probably quite important for the development of the story. Both it shows how society's fallen apart, because the hospital in any sort of event like this is going to be ground zero. So not only is it probably one of the more dangerous places in the city, but also it just really highlights how gone society is. And it's just quite eerie walking through what should be bright, pristine corridors contrasted with the zombies. I think that works quite well.
Absolutely. There's obviously a reason why Walking Dead itself kind of starts off in a hospital, doesn't it?
Yeah,
if you
that's
all
true.
the way back, Rick wakes up in the hospital, doesn't he? He's been in there for something, I can't remember what it is now, and it's all dilapidated and empty and eerie. So yeah, it's a good opening setting. Doesn't really feel like it in this one specifically, but I'd say Left 4 Dead 2 definitely feels like it had a really big Dawn of the Dead tinge to it. With the characters involved in it, and then the mall setting as well for the first level. Whereas I can't really figure out what this one is paying homage to in general. Like, there's not really a one specific thing. It just seems to be like an amalgamation of a lot of that type of film.
Yeah, it's just a sort of love letter to zombie movies in general. Interestingly, this is another thing that I didn't include in my notes, but there's a lot of references to Dead Rising in the game as well. There's a lot of references to Frank.
I was going to say, is there going to be a Frank West reference?
Yeah,
do you know what it is?
So it's in this level. Well, there's numerous actually, but the one that I can remember, it's in this level in the hospital, in one of the near the top. I think it's the last safe room. It's written about how there's no helicopter. The helicopter's gone or something like that, and he's run out of film and can't take any more pictures and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And then there's bits and pieces throughout the game that link back to him.
That's
I think
cool.
we should, as we go, we should rank these levels. So obviously, No Mercy has to go in at number 1 at the moment because it's up against nothing else.
Yeah.
The have I got any more notes for you? No, that's all we've got for No Mercy. So, like, the next one I've got on my list is Crash Course. I thought I would give you a quick rundown of what that is, just to give you a bit of a taste of it, but it's DLC, so we don't have to go into it too much. I think this is the one we done that I was speaking to you about earlier. Did you remember
I'm just
it?
Flick through this while it's going on, just so I can remind myself of it.
So, Crash Course is the first DLC campaign for Left 4 Dead. It was free on the PC, but cost $7 on the Xbox, which at the time, interestingly, wasn't $7. It was 560 Microsoft points.
Oh yeah,
remember those days?
Fucking hell! Not with any fondness.
It was released in September the 29th, 2009. According to Valve, it is meant to bridge the gap between No Mercy and Death Toll. Crash Course is one of the shortest of any of the 4 Left 4 Dead campaigns and contains only 2 chapters. This campaign was subsequently released for Left 4 Dead 2 on November the 4th in 2011 as part of the Coldstream DLC, which also included ports of all earlier Left 4 Dead campaigns compared to the other ported campaigns from Left 4 Dead. Crash Course is the latest modified and retains most of its original layout and features without any changes.
Okay.
So to give you, this one, that was more about the DLC, but Crash Course begins shortly after the events of No Mercy. The helicopter rescue pilot from the rooftop finale succumbs to the infection, and Zoe shoots him in mid-flight. It's a bit dramatic. The helicopter crashes in an industrial area outside the city of Fairfield in Whitney County. Starting from next to the helicopter crash site, the survivors traverse Fairfield's industrial landscape. Initially, there is no firm clue about their destination until they make reference to a truck depot and discuss the town of Riverside, where a military evacuation centre is reported to be. This plan obviously foreshadows and contextualises the Death Toll campaign. At the truck depot, they discover an armoured truck mounted on a workshop hoist, which must be lowered before they can board and escape. Activating a generator for this purpose triggers a finale horde attack. In another act of foreshadowing, the generator stalls partly through the battle, and one survivor must restart it. The problem occurs in this same problem occurs in the sacrifice, except the survivor who restarts it is certain to die. Bill.
Ah.
So I guess because we have Yeah. Did you enjoy this one quickly?
It's okay. It's the one where you have a bit of you're in some sort of, as it says, the industrial area where we were climbing up on them boxes and stuff in those
With
warehouses. Yeah, and then there's the big bridge that you go over, and then it's basically just a massive kind of. It's quite a wide open area where you're trying to get that car working, isn't it? So it's okay, but I don't think it's got anything on the actual main campaign ones. I would say this probably goes at the bottom.
Yeah, I think so. I would fully agree with this. The next one, though, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on, because this is another, I think, stellar level, and that's Death Toll. To give you a quick idea about Death Toll, this one spans 5 chapters called The Turnpike, The Drains, The Church, The Town, and The Boathouse. This spans 5 chapters. Death Toll is set in and around a small town named Riverside, where the survivors believe the military may be holding out. The chapter takes place after the Crash Course campaign, in which the survivors had to head to Riverside, and their motivation for striving to reach the town centre is based on no more than a vaguely expressed notion that the military may be holding out in Riverside, and shared awareness that they have no other realistic option. On their trek to Riverside, the survivors find a way over a broken highway, enter a road tunnel, which Francis actively dislikes, not sure why, get through a drain system, traverse a creepy old train yard, attend a rousing evening service at the Riverside. I really enjoy that church section where you rock up at
that's the one
church.
where I was doing the Simpsons reference.
Yes,
I
that I didn't get at all.
That's Homer. That's also
like
Homer.
So am I right in thinking? So this is I do enjoy the sections of this game where it's like essentially like, right, hold this section, and I don't know why, but I enjoy going around the area, like laying booby traps, shooting, like putting down explosive barrels, so that when the zombie horde comes along, you've planned your attack, closed your doors, and just sort of ready for the onslaught. And then inevitably you end up using all your explosives really early on, and then it's just an absolute bum fight to just try and stay alive towards the end, just sticking together so that you can help each other when you get caught.
Yeah, it's such a burden, isn't it? They give you them, and you think, well, I know what they want me to do with these things. There's obviously going to be something coming up that's going to be useful for this. So then you pick up this canister, and you're walking around, and there's like 4 zombies in front of you, and they all run at you. You think, well, I've got to chuck it now, and I'm going to blow it up. But the best laid plans never really come to fruition, especially if you get some twat in your game who shoots them all as soon as you've put them down, like we did, before the horde even arrived.
Yeah.
Boathouse bit, mint.
Oh, so good.
Quality.
So good.
Love
just,
that bit.
The little bits and pieces of destructible environment, i.e. the doors and windows and things that the game has, it just... the house really, when you're upstairs and like you start off sort of holding the house, and eventually like bit by bit the house just gets attacked to the point that you're just getting driven upstairs. Like there's every time I've played this level, there's been moments where I've just been standing at the top of the stairs just unloading my gun on like waves and waves of enemies trying to get up at you. It's just it's chaotic in the best way possible. And I even like when we were speaking about this when we were doing it at the time, when you realise that the boat's coming but it doesn't come to where you are. So you've got to then leave the house and make a run for the boat. Oh,
yeah, that's so great.
Good,
that's
so
a really
good.
cool little touch at the end. I like it's got a mounted gun and the zombies come out of the woods from behind the trees. It's darker. Yeah, this slots itself right in at number 1 for me for now.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I guess it's similar at the end. I just like it at the end when they don't all do it, but most of them do when you've just got to make your break from cover. So, like, obviously in the first level with the helicopter coming, you sort of hole up in that square building with the minigun on top. And then the helicopter basically lands at the other side of the map that you're in, and you've got to make your run for it. But then that's when someone gets down, someone gets caught in a bunch of zombies, or they get punched by a tank, and then there's just like the frantic, do I come out? I'm in the helicopter or on the boat. Do I get out to come and help, or do I just let them go?
Yeah. Which was the one that I didn't make it on? It wasn't this one, was it?
Oh, I thought you made it on all of them. Did you not?
No, I remember there was... The last level we did is the one where I died, and you didn't... You decided against saving me, and then remember it was in... the credits were in memory of me. Remember that?
Oh, yeah! Yeah, what was that one? Oh, I'm not sure
we'll have
now.
to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not this one, though. I definitely got on the boat for this one.
It was maybe Dead Air where you got to get on the plane.
Oh, I think it was. Yeah, the last one in
Yeah.
the airport. Yeah, I think it was actually.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's great. Love this one.
Death Toll definitely goes into number 1. Dead Air, which is next up, is another great one. There's not really any bad ones. It's just less good ones, and it's probably like we've said before. It's like, was it Death Toll? Crash Course, the DLC one. It just feels a bit short and simple, and it's not. I don't know. It just doesn't. It just doesn't have the same feel. But Dead Air is another good one. So let's have a quick look at what Dead Air. Dead Air is the 4th campaign in Left 4 Dead. Dead Air ported. Blah blah blah. It's Campaign opens with the survivors hiding on a rooftop greenhouse when a low-flying C-130 sparks agreement that the local airport may still be operating evacuating flights. Thereafter, the campaign has the survivors make their way through Newburgh to the Metro International Airport, where they must refuel their escape aircraft. To get to the airport, they must traverse rooftops, apartment buildings, office cubicles, and
the office bit's great.
Yeah. Go and remind me of that office bit again.
Isn't that the law office? And you've got all those, as you say, there's all those cubicles and desks and stuff.
Yes.
You can climb and jump over all the cubicles and do some kind of cool sneaking, flanking zombies. That's quite fun. Rooftop bits are fun as well, just sort of hopping across them.
This isn't just because you died in this one, but I think this is one of the harder end boss. The end boss isn't the right word, but sort of end sections where you've got.
It's so open. There's hardly any cover.
Yeah, you can't get cover, and they come from all directions. Like even in like the one with the house, you're kind of covered by the water behind you, whereas this one, just come from everywhere. And annoyingly, your sort of like hiding spot with the minigun is right up against a wall where they can just jump over.
I feel like every time we started that section, they came straight from behind.
Yeah.
Like we're on the gun, and then none of them go through the gun. They're all behind you.
I was a big fan of this one. I maybe number 2 for me. Where would you put this one?
Yeah, I agree. I love the bit with the crashed plane. It's just all in bits, just hanging over like the freeway or whatever it is. You're in the middle of this road, and it's like broken through bridges and stuff. Although we did get stuck there trying to figure out where to go. It's almost like you have to climb up the plane. But it's a really cool visual as you're like running through the sort of the raised, you get the sort of raised sky bridges in an airport, and you can kind of look out the glass, and you can just see all this like smashed up airplane hanging out on the road below. That's really cool. And then the final, as you say, the final showdown is really, really tough in a good way. But I did not survive it. But I really like the airport section. That's a really cool part.
Yeah.
Remember at the beginning of the airport as well, you got that bit where the plane just crashes right in front of you and it explodes.
Oh yeah.
And then me and you were like, holy shit! And then all the characters were like, oh my god, holy shit! It was nice for the game to garner the same reaction from us as it does for the AI characters. It shows that they pulled it off.
Yeah. I think one of the more interesting things about this game when we were replaying it through is that I felt like it's kept every bit of the sort of wonder, tension, and excitement that it had in 2009 when it came out. Like, it's not really lost any of that, despite its age.
Yeah.
Which is a real like with a lot of these games that we've played that are old now, and gone back to them. Most of them are very, very good, but a lot of them have to be looked at through a lens and an understanding of where they come from. I think this is an extremely good game still today. Yeah. I think the only thing that's really creaking around the sides in Left 4 Dead 1 only, not 2, is its visuals really, and how the characters handle. Yeah.
But like I said, I still think the animations are still really good, especially for the zombies. The standard ones.
Mm-hmm. Did you play a lot of the multiplayer when back in the day?
I did play a fair bit, yeah, because this came out while I was at uni, so we had a house full of 4 people, and we did sometimes do quite a lot of that where we would do 2v2. So 2 guys would be the infected, and 2 of our friends would. We were all in the same house as well, so we had 2 of us like could actually strategize sitting in the downstairs room, and then upstairs they were the survivors or whatever, and you could hear them shouting, in anguish or whatever if we pulled off something particularly sneaky from downstairs or whatever. That was good fun.
Oh yeah, that is good. I'm kind of jealous of that one. So, the last one that we've got of the main campaign is called Blood Harvest. This is another one that I think is just absolutely fantastic. This is So in Left 4 Dead, after their rescue aircraft is lost, the survivors hide out in a forest until learning of a nearby military outpost located in a barricaded farmhouse. They set off through the forest and follow a series of train tracks until entering a military-controlled area, only to discover the outpost is abandoned. A radio call to the army base at Millhaven triggers the finale, and they must hold out until the armoured personnel carrier arrives. The thing I like about this one, obviously, I think the end bit is absolutely terrifying in having the long grass and the enemies being able to just get through the long grass, and you often don't know they're there until they're right on you.
Yeah, quite reminiscent of Resident Evil 8. Or Village, sorry.
Which is another absolutely terrifying examples of a zombie-ish thing creeping through the reeds. The other thing I like about this one is, though, that I think it spans the biggest diversity of setting.
Oh, you think so?
What I mean, so I'm looking at it here, and it starts off, you're in a forest, then you go into a tunnel, then you're going over a bridge, then you're in a train station, and then the farmhouse. I think each of those are very distinct areas. Which I guess the first one does as well.
I'm skipping through a video of it here, and it seems to just be there's a lot of outside stuff, a lot of trees, a lot of foliage, a lot of power lines, a lot of fog. It feels like that. It has quite a similar theme for most of the level until you get to the farmhouse. Whereas I'd say the one where you end up in the airport, or the one where you end up at the lake at the boathouse, which is the one where we just said you go through like all the office buildings and stuff, because that's got like office buildings, that's got an airport, that's got the city streets. Potentially you start off in is that the one where you start off in the greenhouse?
So the greenhouse, that's dead air, and they've got the greenhouse section, the crane section, the construction site section, the airport terminal, and the runway finale.
Okay, so it's the boathouse one then. That's the one I think has got the most variety.
This has the turnpike, the drains, the church, the town, and the boathouse. Yeah, I guess you're probably right. You're probably right in that respect.
From skipping through this level, playthrough of this level right now, that one, Blood Harvest does actually seem pretty similar for a lot of it until you get to the farm, when you've got the introduction of all the wheat fields and stuff like that, and the house that you've got to defend. So I would say I probably wouldn't rank this one as high as Dead Air or what was it? Crash Course?
This goes in at number 3 for you.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Okay.
What would you think? I've obviously said something completely opposite to how you felt about it, so I wonder if you would have put this number 1.
No, I think it would probably be number 2 for me.
Okay.
Like I think I can see what you mean by when you a lot of the place does look the same.
Yeah, because it's all on the outskirts, so you don't really get a lot of that inner city feel to it anymore.
No, I guess for me, I just felt that the train station maybe aesthetically looks similar to the trees in the woods in the tunnel area, because you're in the same area, but adding in the trains, I think it changed the construction of the level in a way that makes it feel fresh and different, I guess. Maybe not in looks, but in terms of operation. I just love a big house fight at the end. I think that's my favourite part of Left 4 Dead. And the sort of long grass makes for an interesting setting, and just changes up what was the boathouse in the first one, and just makes it a bit different, I guess. But it's not my favourite, but it's a big highlight for me. I was a big fan of this one. So I guess on the Alex list this is 3rd, and on my list this would be probably 2nd.
We're agreeing on the best one.
Yeah which was,
that was Crash Course, I think. Whatever the one is with the boat at the end.
Yeah that's Crash Course, you're right, as I was looking through it.
So for me, Crash Course, then Dead Air, then Blood Harvest.
Yes.
Then the first one.
The definitive AWIY list. I guess that brings us mostly to the end of the game. I've got a couple more bits of trivia that I'm just going to read, and you can give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down about whether it's interesting or not.
Okay.
So I don't know who this is, but you know music better than I do, so I'm hoping you know who this is. Okay. Mike Patton from a band called Faith No More. He voiced all of the zombies in the game.
Yes. Mike Patton is insane, by the way.
Is he?
Insane human. Yeah. But he is cool. You never heard Faith No More, no?
I probably have.
They did a cover of Easy Like Sunday Morning. That's probably one of their most famous songs.
After
Other
this
than that,
podcast,
Epic.
I'll put it on.
Yeah, listen to Epic, because that's the one everybody knows. You probably would notice.
Yeah.
You'd recognise that one. He was also in a band called Dillinger Escape Plan, who are like ridiculously heavy, what they call mathcore. And he was in their band for a brief period. And honestly, it's just noise. I actually like Dillinger Escape Plan, but when he was in it, it's just insanity. Absolute insanity.
Oh.
He's a crazy, crazy man. But that's cool that he did that. Very cool.
Yeah. Apparently, he's in a few video games. He's in that. Oh, I'm drawing a blank now what it's called, but he's in Portal 2. He's one of the. Yeah, he's that little sphere thing that Steve Merchant plays. There's a rogue one with a red eye in the game, and he voices the noises that makes as well.
Oh yeah. I can kind of remember that one. Where he's just kind of like. Yeah.
The other one is it The Darkness? The game where you're like a mafia, you're in the mafia, or you're in some sort of crime family, and you get a demon inside you.
Yeah,
he makes a lot of the demon noises.
Does it?
You're a big fan of that back in the day, weren't you?
I didn't actually ever finish it. I've got the Darkness. I've definitely got the Darkness 2. What else was he was in?
Might have to add it to a future podcast list then, Alex.
Yeah, I keep seeing him in video games here on his IMDb, but it's basically just because that song Epic is in Rock Band and Burnout Paradise.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can't see. They don't seem to. Yeah, they're not really crediting him on IMDb for those making zombie noises. Why would you?
This is probably my worst fact for you, but you're getting it now, so we'll get that out of the way. So hopefully the trajectory of facts are only going to increase after this one. The game's cover art was changed for the German and Japanese releases because apparently the hand that we have in our one has a chewed off thumb. But in the Japanese and the European versions, they had to make it look like the thumb was tucked behind the hand.
Oh, what? Oh, I don't have the box for this anymore. Were we the European one then?
German, sorry. No, the Germans.
Ah, yeah, well, you know what they're like.
Yeah.
They used to ban everything, didn't they? They used to censor everything in Germany.
Yeah, they did.
It was them in Australia, right? Germany and Australia used to be the most
Australia's still pretty bad. I don't think
you're allowed
blood. Yeah, they had. Oh, you remember that? They had to take the blood out of the game for the German and the Australian versions of Left 4 Dead.
Did they?
So when you shoot them, they don't bleed in those territories, yeah.
Well, they do sweat again.
Yeah.
Like in Mortal Kombat on the SNES. It's just all Alex zombies. That's all they are. It's just me sweating all everywhere.
So Left 4 Dead was also released in arcades in Japan when it came out.
What? Brilliant.
Yeah.
ここまで来れば大丈夫だよね。
おう。でも警戒は怠るなよ。
もう嫌になっちゃうね。どうしてこんなことに。
No! どうした？いつまでもビビってると思うなよ。
ゾンビの皆さん、あっち行って。
キリがないわ。
次、お前ら気を抜くな。
これいつ終わるのかな。
怪我してねえか。
ありがとう。ゾンビはいないみたい。やっと落ち着けるわ。
広瀬！広瀬！
Yeah, and when they released it, so the way it handled, so like obviously it wasn't like a joystick and buttons. You got a mouse in your right hand, and you got what essentially was like a motion stick on your right hand for moving about. It's like a Wiimote for your left hand, where you would use to joystick them around and do your shooting. Yeah.
So you're doing like a mouse thing with your right hand, as if you're doing mouse and keyboard.
Yeah. So you would I think you would turn and shoot with that, and then your left hand you would like change weapons and like I don't know, move forward and backwards, I suppose.
And that was a joystick, you say?
It was like a handheld thing that looked like a Wiimote sort of thing.
Oh.
And
did you find any pictures of this?
Yeah, I can supply some pictures.
Let me see if I can see it. Oh, here we go.
So you can kind of see it if you do Left 4 Dead Japan Arcade and then click on images. There's a lot of images of the thing itself. It looks like a nunchuck from a Switch in the left hand.
Every time I click on these images, they don't actually open the fucking image.
Here's one for you. It will have a text to you. But while you're looking for that, the other thing that the arcade version did is they replaced all the characters in the game. So obviously they took out Zoe, Louis, Francis and Bill and they replaced them with a Japanese schoolgirl, a university student, a half American, half Japanese tour guide and an American bartender, because apparently that would appeal to the Japanese market more, which is very strange. I think you're still working.
So
right?
one of them is actually a mouse.
Yeah.
Oh wow, it does look like a Wii nunchuck. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. It's very odd, isn't it?
Shit. I bet that is fun as fuck.
Yeah, and it's co-op as well, and they were basically just 4 machines next to each other, and you would just rock up with your mates and play co-op game with the 4 arcade machines.
Oh, there was a time limit on it. The 15-minute time limit.
Yuck.
That's stupid. You should pay for credits, not for amount of time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a bit of a light gunny sort of game, almost.
Yeah, it's weird looking, isn't it?
Good spot. I did not know that. Well done.
So this is my favourite bit of trivia. I don't know. I'm hoping you don't know this because this is absolutely fantastic. But apparently this is a Left 4 Dead 2 bit of trivia, but I liked it so much that I thought it's going in. So apparently the first DLC for Left 4 Dead 2 was supposed to be a movie tie-in with Cabin in the Woods that was also released that year.
What a great film. What a great film.
Unfortunately though, MGM went out of business and they couldn't afford to pay for the DLC, so it never went ahead. But left over from that deal, you can actually see Infected from Left 4 Dead in the Cabin in the Woods movie, and you can see the witch, the hunter, the boomer, and the tank in that section. You know, like when they go underneath the ground and you see all the different all the different monster types. So all the Left 4 Dead 2 Infected are in tanks.
Oh wow!
Because obviously they got to that stage of discussion in the contracts, but they never finalised it to make the DLC, unfortunately.
But MGM have come back now, right?
Yeah.
So somebody must have bailed them out. Maybe it was the government or whatever.
I was reading about that, and I don't really understand what happened with MGM. I remember because there was something, because that's who owns Bond, and I remember that.
Yeah, they delayed him a lot, right?
Yeah, but I don't know what the financial situation of them now are. So yeah. So that's a good one. But yeah, I guess
really
that's
cool.
it.
That's really cool.
Overall, I was a big fan. I enjoyed it, and one of my new favourite things to do at the moment is very, very quickly becoming Friday night settle down with a co-op game and just make a night of it. And on top of Streets of Rage last week, this was another excellent addition to the plethora of games that we have available to us. And it was I just had a really good time with it. I think
an absolute blast.
It's aged fantastically well, and if nothing else, it's made me more excited for Back 4 Blood now. I'm ready for a modern take on this.
Yeah. It's a really good choice of game. I was very happy with that.
What have we got up next? Do you know, Alex?
Well, I've thought I bought just now Death's Door. Do you want to do Death's Door?
Yes, let's do it.
And then we'll do Mario World on the 23rd. So we've got like 2 weeks to play Death's Door and a bit of Mario World. Yeah, that's doable.
Good. Yeah, definitely. I think so.
I think we can maybe watch each other do some. Is it run based? How does it work?
Death's Door.
Yeah.
No, so there's basically a big world that you go into, and you're a reaper who's also a crow, and you have to go around. You have to like sort of traverse through these levels looking for enemies to kill, and every time you kill an enemy, you get his soul, which you can use to upgrade your character. And then it does a combination of when you say like you're trying to work your way through a level to do certain bits, it'll loop back on itself and you'll unlock shortcuts like like Dark Souls-esque, and then periodically you'll get further on and another door will appear that will allow you to go back to the main hub area, and then when the door's there, you can always get back to this area, if that makes sense. Once there's a door there, the door will always be there. The story is basically your job as a reaper is to go and claim souls, and the door won't close until you've claimed the souls, but you get given a job to claim a soul at the start of the game, and through turns of different events you can't claim the soul, so all these doors are opening and you can't close them because you've not been able to claim the soul. So you're on a mission to claim big souls so that you can then open Death's actual door so that you can try and close the loop because something's going on.
Ooh. Okay.
And yeah, so like when you die, it's not like Souls. When you die, you keep your souls, so you don't lose them all. And it's made by the people that made Titan Souls. Did you ever play that game?
No.
It was essentially a boss run game where you would have a big map and you'd have like one health and one arrow. And you'd have
maybe
to
we played that together. Briefly.
Possibly. I never completed it, but I got fairly far through it and had a good time with it. This sort of takes that idea and builds upon that a bit more in a really, really interesting way. And the art style's phenomenal. It's funny, it's interesting, it's hard, it's tricky. The mechanics are
I'm looking forward to
fantastic.
it. You totally sold me on it, and it is probably already downloaded to my Xbox, so I think that should be our next episode. Get back into a recent game again.
Yeah, I think that's time. It's time, Alex.
It is indeed.
I suppose that brings us to the end of episode 20. If you want to check us out on Twitter, you can follow us, which is at awinnerisyoupod. You can also send us an email, awinnerisyoupod@gmail.com. Is that correct? I got that right, didn't I?
Yep.
To send us your thoughts, tell us what you thought of Left 4 Dead. What did you like? What did you not like? Give us some suggestions for games to play. Tell us what we're wrong about. Tell us what you're right about. What did you agree? What did you disagree with? Just speak to us. We know you're there. We're ready and waiting.
Yeah. Please.
Yeah. So I guess that's it, Alex.
I got nothing more to say, buddy.
Exactly. I've been David. He has been Alex. We have been A Winner As You. And I'm out.
Keep gaming.